Chapter 1 Light King. Dragons. Mythical beings that were thought to be extinct, at least on Earth. But now, this didn't seem to hold true anymore. At least 10 meters tall, 2 wings that have a reach of over 50 meters and a spiky tail. That's what the humans living on Earth saw in year 2232, 10 years after they received the strange abilities. Look. It destroyed an entire island. All the troops, fall back, shouted a middle-aged man wearing a black and green military equipment. He seemed to be the commander of the team named Fanatic Shield. Fanatic Shield was in a sense the first layer of protection Earthlings received after the ability crisis. It was named so because every single member of Fanatic Shield had a single goal: to receive the damage meant for their little planet. They had to put their lives at risk to stop anything trying to threaten Earth's safety. But even then, the current situation didn't allow them to do that. Who could stop a colossal dragon that went on a rampage? This wasn't even the entire problem, as it wasn't just a single dragon, but 11 of them. 10 of the dragons were currently randomly destroying islands somewhere in the Pacific Ocean. The last one, almost double in size to its peers, was casually flapping its wings into the sky. Nothing in the world seemed to bother the beautiful blue dragon. We'll regroup at the nearest oceanic overlord. For now, we can't do anything about them. The same middle-aged man who spoke earlier, Dima, gave another round of orders in his station. There were around 100 Hell helicopters flying around, but none dared to approach the dragons anymore, after half of them fell. This is bad, very bad. How much longer until the special ability user team arrives? We can't face off against something like this. Commander Dima of the Fanatic Shield was a brave man, one who didn't know the word fear. But it was exactly this man who ordered for retreat and started praying for the Special Ability User Team, or SAUT for short, to hurry up. 10 Hell helicopters will stay behind and cover us. Commander Dima couldn't finish his words, as a figure suddenly appeared in front of him. Just take your men and leave. I'll take care of it from here. A pair of emerald eyes, golden hair and a shiny aura around him, the figure ordered. The man was looking similar to a certain character that got stronger the more he fought. Why you are? Commander Dima's mouth was agape. He recognized the figure before him. The legendary Light King. The mysterious person who saved Earth twice before. The man was unknown, if not for the fact that he already appeared 2 times, no one would know him. And no was an overstatement, not a single soul really knew who the Light King was. Some said he didn't like fame, others said that he was already roaming the Earth before the ability crisis happened, and that's why he was so strong. But the truth was uncertain. The Light King also didn't make any public speech, ever. This also started a trend where people respect even a beggar on the streets, fearing that it may be the Light King in disguise. Can the Light King really stop those evil things? I know that he is strong, but those are dragons capable of submerging an island with a single breath of fire. Commander Dima froze in his place. In fact, every single human present on the scene froze. This was because the holy figure that was among the Hell helicopters was suddenly above a dragon. Raising his hand above his head, a golden spear materialized. After grabbing it, the Light King slowly plunged it towards the brown dragon that didn't seem to care at all. He killed it. Oh my God! Light King! Hail to our savior! In different places of the world, people were celebrating. Everyone was watching the live broadcast of one of the Hell helicopters present at the scene. When the portal break was announced, people were already logging in their Skylimit bracelet to see it. For about 5 years ago, Skylimit bracelet were pretty common around the normal folk. This miraculous technological gadget was invented by a small group of people who studied power stones since the ability crisis began. What is he doing? This question was asked by many people watching the live broadcast. For no other reason other than the Light King suddenly going in the middle of the dragon pack. Even the leader, the massive ice dragon, was alarmed to see its brethren killed in front of her eyes. Go back to where you came from, or you can stay here, forever. The Light King's diehard fans all screamed hearing their hero's threat towards the creatures they once considered as the strongest. Seeing that not a single dragon moved from its spot, the Light King simply raised a finger above him, a small particle of light gathered there, then another one, and another. In a matter of seconds, a giant ball of light was created, perfectly hovering above Light King. Seeing this scene, humans all around the world were stunned. Something like this was unimaginable for them. To control your ability to such a degree. Only the Light King is capable of doing this. Commander Dima added in his mind. He was so amazed that he even forgot to use his sky limit bracelet to measure Light King's power level. Or maybe he remembered it, but he was too afraid to do so. Using the power watch, even a normal human was able to pick out a powerful being from a crowd. This was the effect of power stones in the daily life of humanity right now. No one could live without them anymore, not mentioning the fact that power stones are the only way for someone to strengthen his ability. Thus, increasing the ability's density level, power level, that was measured only by the power watch. This obviously better determined someone's power, and if it was worth picking a fight with. There were a lot of people who didn't properly analyze their enemies, resulting in their own death. Back to the fierce confrontation between the Light King and the dragons, no one spoke a word. I see that you've made your choice. Die. The ball of light slowly inched forward. Chapter 2, Alceus Academy. Lux. A girl's voice was heard shouting at a young man who fell asleep on the way to the Alceus Academy. The two were currently taking a flying shuttle to get there earlier, as it was the first day. Did we get there yet, Mia? The young man named Lux asked his sister, Mia. They were finally going to arrive at the #1 academy on Earth. Both were accepted into the special class, the elite group that was nurtured with everything the academy had to offer. Be it power stones, equipment, or world-renowned teachers, they had everything at their disposal. It was pure bliss for any youth to enter the academy itself, not to mention the special class. We just arrived. Come, quickly. I don't want to be late on the first day. Nia's small legs swiftly left the shuttle and dashed outside. She was extremely excited, not to mention that her big brother was in the same class as her. This was a bonus, but it was to be expected since both of them were extremely talented. Nia was considered a prodigy amongst Earthlings. In fact, the whole Apostolos family was kind of talented. The three siblings, Bella, Lux, and Nia. All were geniuses in their own domains. Lux and Nia were a bit different though. One was a genius scientist, and the other was a prodigious reaper of the night. Nia's ability, Queen of the Night, put her on the list of dangerous individuals, world-level speaking. Lux wasn't as dangerous as Nia, he was in fact a sickly weak boy. His pale complexion and lack of ability didn't let him do many things. So he took upon the scientific path. A born scientist, Lux was actually one of the first people to help in the creation of Skylimit and Skylimit bracelets. He and Nia were around 12 when the ability crisis began. It was just that Nia got a super strong ability, while Lux got nothing. This was because not everyone managed to get an ability, only around 30% of the population of Earth had one. But this also meant over 3 billion ability users. This forced the world government to create special facilities for them, they were called academies. Lux smiled as he followed his little sister around. Usually, one had to take an aptitude test before being admitted, and also a combat-related one. But since both Nia and Lux had stellar results in the past and were also specifically invited to the special class of the Alceus Academy, they skipped those steps. Since two good-looking humans were fooling around, a lot of curious gazes were thrown their way. Lux was pretty tall, standing at about 1.85 meters, pale yellow hair and unique emerald eyes. A lot of girls couldn't help but be attracted to him. Nia also managed to gather a fan base shortly, even larger than Lux. Long wavy hair, brown locks, pink plump lips, deep gray eyes with a hint of sky blue in them, framed with a thick layer of dark, long lashes, Nia was like a goddess walking down the mortal world. The sibling duo managed to pass the entrance of the academy after showing their special permit to the gatekeeper. Gatekeeper because there was only one man. Standing straight like a spear, the man who looked to be in his 40s briefly glanced at their proof of being assigned to the special class, before nodding at them. He knew who the two of them were because as a teacher of the special class, he had access to the students' profiles. Go to room 1 on the 2nd floor. There's going to be someone who will receive you there. Saying so, the fierce man continued to watch over the entrance. While there shouldn't be someone stupid enough to attack the Alcaeus Academy in broad daylight, especially on such an important day, everything was possible. Nia, don't stare so much. It's rude. Lux admonished his sister when he saw her gawking at the man. But he looks like a lion. Look at that fur, and those ears too. Nia's eyes gleamed with curiosity as she scanned the man. She was aware that some ability users would have a low chance to receive mutations while advancing on their path. Sometimes, there would even be people that became something else entirely, but it was very rare. Hearing his little sister say something like this, Lux was speechless. He quickly grabbed her before going to the 2nd floor of the academy. So that was the Black Witch, huh? She's definitely interesting, completely different from how the rumors describe her. Maniac, ruthless, bloodthirsty. Alexander Leone, the gatekeeper of the Alcaeus Academy and someone in the top 100 ability users, evaluated Nia as cute. There was a big difference between hearing someone say something about a person and seeing it for yourself. The brother. Why wasn't I paying attention to him at all? I guess that's a normie for you. Alexander shook his head and didn't give it much thought. Brother? Why did you stop? Nia curiously asked when she saw that Lux stopped in his tracks. Not paying attention to Nia for a brief moment, Lux turned his gaze towards a window. There, 2 men were simply standing, both watching his and Nia's every move. Seeing the young man making eye contact with him for a second, one of the 2 men turned around and left. And Mr. Blaze? The other man still standing at the window was surprised. He quickly chased after Mr. Blaze, who just left. I saw everything there was to see. Don't worry, the funds I promised are going to be sent directly to the principal. There's no need for you to show me the way, I know it like the back of my hand. Seeing the ex-vice principal leaving so suddenly, the current one, Alan Gervais, was stunned. He saw everything there was to see? But he hasn't even seen his own daughter yet. So you're not giving up yet, Lux. Better forget any thoughts you had about Myra, she won't even talk to you, not anymore. Thought Lancelot Blaze as he somehow got on the rooftop. Chapter 3, Old Friends. Not looking at the window anymore, Lux turned to Nia before saying, I just thought that I recognized someone for a second, but it seems I was mistaken. While smiling at his sister as he grabbed her hand, Lux continued to move forward with unhurried steps. Dash. Wait a bit. Nia quickly escaped her brother's grip before looking at him straight in the eyes. Did she see that it was Lancelot there? A number of thoughts passed through Lux's mind just like a calculator. Brother, listen to me carefully. Don't turn around, that damned bitch Amanda is there. Softly speaking as she gazed at her brother, Nia bit her lips. She just saw one of the people who hurt her brother in the past. A person that she hated from the bottom of her heart. That snake who once dared to call her little Nia with so much affection. Amanda Lapillis. Born and treated as royalty, it was only to be expected that she was also a student of the Alcaeus Academy. What was worse though was that she also had a special class permit in her hand, and was currently walking toward the sibling duo. Oh? Lux and little Nia, you're both here. My father already told me about you being invited into the special class. I could barely stop myself from visiting you too. Amanda was smiling at them like she was talking to her best friends, but the problem was, they weren't. You damned dash before Nia could manage to curse Amanda to hell and back, Lux stepped in. I'm also glad to see you here, Amanda. It's been a while. Saying so, Lux amicably smiled at her before grabbing Nia's hands and dragging her away once again. Low life who tried to eat swan's meat before. You won't have a life anymore after coming here, not even your so powerful big sister can save you this time. Amanda's eyes gradually turned colder as she looked at the 2 of them leaving. As their friend in the past, she knew better than anyone how big the pressure on the Apostolos family was. And everything began from a silly thing. Arg. Why did you stop me, brother? I would have smashed that bitch's face. Nia suddenly stopped shouting when she saw her brother's bright eyes, lacking any emotion whatsoever, looking forward. There, a gorgeous red-haired girl of unparalleled beauty was slowly walking. She was surrounded by a group of dozens of people. And Lux knew every single one of them. After all, they were his friends once upon a time. Every bastard is here. Nia was feeling even more disappointed that she couldn't raise a finger to beat those people up for the wrongdoings they did to her brother in the past. Nia. Hearing Lux's deep voice, Nia looked at him, only to be shocked a bit, when she saw that her brother wasn't fazed at all by those people. Please don't antagonize those people in the future. Struggling a bit to come to terms of calling them people, Lux finished his sentence with a warning for Nia to hear. He knew very well how headstrong his little sister was, but it didn't matter. Lux wouldn't want Nia to be expelled on the first day of the academy for a stupid reason as revenge. Especially not because of beating up those human dogs for him. It just made him feel bad to see her like this, but there wasn't anything that could be done. But. Nia tried to oppose Lux's decision, but she was unsuccessful, as he quickly stopped her. No buts. Just listen to your big bro for now. There exists something called karma, and it's not a joke. Karma? Nia was confused now. Sometimes, this brother of hers said random things. Brother, do you really believe that karma exists? Don't be silly. Silly? Nia, would you have believed it if someone came 11 years ago and said that starting with next year, everyone would awaken abilities? No, you would have said it was silly. Saying his piece, Lux walked in the opposite direction of the red-haired girl. He didn't want to meet with her, yet. It wasn't that he was afraid or something, quite the opposite actually. Lux thought that she wasn't ready to talk to him after what happened. Let's go. This time, there wasn't any incident stopping the brother and sister from reaching the main building's second floor. When they arrived there, a few other students and instructors were present. After briefly glancing their way, most of them turned their gaze around, seemingly uninterested in anything else other than Nia's beauty. Most of them, except one. A handsome blue-haired young man. Lux Apostolos. The walking joke, didn't you have part of enough embarrassment before? You want more? The young man grinned as he approached the two. He seemed to know Lux and also hate him. Valentino Russell. You're here too. Lux responded calmly, not at all taunted by the other party's provocation. Heh, you poor shit. Really think for a second that you'll live the life here? I'm telling you, after Mark gets here, you're going to suffer, really bad. Intentionally or not, Valentino was already in front of Lux and Nia. He seemed to be waiting for something, a reaction of some sorts from Lux after hearing the name Mark, but there was nothing. Unfortunately for Valentino, Lux wasn't interested in anything else, other than his sisters and a special person. Valentino was the right-hand man of Mark, a born bootlicker and a hunting dog. He was considered an oddity even by his own Russell family. Not responding to my provocations anymore, huh? It seems that this shit grew some guts. But don't worry, I'll make sure to bring you hell, as a token of friendship, of course. Added Valentino to the end, as he saw some teachers and instructors glancing his way. Some big words there, little Tino. Better shut the fuck up, least I sleep with your sister again. A voice suddenly laughed as he got closer. Chapter 4, Conflict. Some big words there, little Tino. Better shut the fuck up, least I sleep with your sister again. Hearing such a remark, everyone was curious to see who dared to speak like that to the only son of the Russell family. But when they saw who did it, no one said anything to stop him. This was because the man who just came was Maximus Dunamis. The Dunamis family, just like the Russell, Lapillus and Blaze family, were part of the 10 big families. These families had the same standing as the World Government, Academies Association, and Earth's Shield. While the World Government looked only after benefits, the Academies Association and Earth's Shield vied to protect humanity as a whole. Fanatic Shield, who confronted the dragons 3 months ago, and the Special Ability Users Team, SAUT, were both part of Earth's Shield. Meanwhile, the 10 families were kind of neutral, in the sense that they had the power to fend for themselves, but still didn't do anything out of the ordinary. One couldn't find any fault with their means either. They continued to amass their wealth while hiring people to work for them as mercenaries. But the evil thing about these families, in the case of a portal break, they would send these exact mercenaries to fight for them. While this couldn't be said to be wrong, statistically speaking, these families didn't lose a single one of their own men during a portal break. Not even one. This was extremely strange, and also made the other powers aware that they may be missing some information about these families. But since they created connections left and right, it was an impossible task to even start an investigation against them. Of course, not everyone from those families was a bad apple. Proof was Maximus Dunamis, that confronted Valentino Russell right now. What did you say? Maximus Dunamis, if you don't take back your words, I'll make sure to kill, dash. Swish. Before Valentino could finish his words, he reflexively caught something with his hands. It was apparently Maximus's sky limit bracelet. What's the meaning of this? Valentino confusedly asked. Maximus just did a strange thing, and he wanted to know why. Read the messages. Grinning, Maximus left Valentino alone. Instead, he turned around to his good friend, Lux. It's good to see you here, buddy. I thought that you would be too afraid to show up, to be honest. Seeing his good old friend assuming such things about him, Lux couldn't help but roll his eyes. Yeah, you're the same. Unfortunately. Hearing such disappointment coming out of Lux's mouth, Maximus laughed out loud. Haha. You're right, I'm sorry for that. There's nothing you can do about it though. Coming closer to Lux, Maximus gave him a brotherly hug, filled with the joy of being reunited once again. I missed you, dear Lux. You. Could you two guys please stop? It's disgusting. Nia could barely keep her eyes open seeing such a scene. She was profusely disappointed in her brother not even trying to escape Maximus's love-filled hug. He didn't even frown, not even a bit. Haha, you're as lively as ever, Nia. Maximus laughed once again, before barely releasing Lux from his hug. Meanwhile, Valentino was reading something on Maximus's sky limit bracelet. It was a private conversation. The other user was named Emily S. Russell. And if Valentino remembered it right, that was his sister's username on the sky limit system. No, it can't be. I'm sure it's just a coincidence. The more Valentino read, the sicker he got. His usual cold sister was so lively while speaking with Maximus, even sending pictures from time to time, or looking to open up dirty subjects from time to time. When he got to over half the conversation, Valentino suddenly lost his grip on the sky limit bracelet, resulting in it falling down to the ground. The loud thud attracted everyone's attention, as the people present here couldn't take their eyes off the two parties. Lux, Nia, and Maximus were one party, while Valentino formed one by himself. The reason why he lost his grip earlier was simple. He just saw a picture sent by his sister, while she was in the bathroom. But this wasn't the problem. The real problem was that she wasn't wearing anything, not even a towel. Ha ha ha. What's going on, little Tino? You finally saw your sister's huge rack? Maximus was laughing out loud. Every second he did so was like an eternity for Valentino, who seemed to have lost his soul. It was only a few seconds later that he recovered his senses, before directing a murderous gaze towards Maximus. You. I'll fucking kill you. Valentino's cold voice gave shivers down everyone's spine. He seemed to be really pissed right now. So pissed that his entire face turned a bit red, just like his eyes. Right when Valentino was prepared to attack, another figure stepped in. No one saw how she moved. Stop right there. The girl who just came to stop the fight coldly said. Her emerald eyes, the same color as Lux, glowed brightly with a fierce light. Short white hair, she was dressed in a black and red uniform that should have accentuated her figure even more. It was a pity that no one had time to observe it, as her powerful momentum was felt by everyone. She was definitely a beautiful, but dangerous woman. Sylvana crestfallen. Valentino spat these words with fear. He knew the woman before him. She was the precious daughter of the principal of the Alcaeus Academy. No matter which person he encountered, Valentino always found a way to use his family's name to clear his name for everything he did. But now, faced with Sylvana, he knew that he needed to concede, especially because she was somehow Lux's childhood friend. Damned bitch, you dare to stand in my way. But there will be a day where your family name would be useless. That's when I'm going to play with you until you die. Recovering himself, Valentino didn't say anything else and simply turned around to leave. In fact, he even left the building, not like someone of his standing could be dropped because of something so superficial as skipping the first day. Sylvana, I'm glad that you're also here. Lux smiled while saying this. How could he not smile when he finally found his friends? I should be glad that you're here, not the other way around. Hello there, Nia. Sylvana also smiled at Nia as she said this. Sylvana. Nia's response was short, she directly threw herself into Sylvana's giant bosom. The whole atmosphere that seemed to be capable of exploding at any given moment instantly calmed down once Valentino left. Well, for a short time at least. Hey, big breasts. Not saying hi, are we? TSK, I swear. All you can see is probably hidden by those huge pair of braias, Maximus's words were stuck in his throat, literally, as a white blade pressed against his neck. Sylvana was standing a meter in front of him, her smiling face was terrifying at this moment. I was kidding. Thus, Maximus Dunamis was close to tears. Chapter 5, Skylimit Bracelet. After the small interlude ended, more and more students belonging to the special class arrived. Very soon, the lobby on the second floor of the main building was almost full. There were around 50 people present, each of them having a unique style or appearance. But this was only to be expected, as Alcaeus Academy's recruitment was done at the same time, all around Earth. So being selected out of almost 1 billion dreaming youths was beyond magnificent by itself. Let's catch up later, the instructors and teachers are about to give us a speech. As Sylvana said so, she winked at Lux and Nia, completely ignoring Maximus's groans. Poor Maximus was sprawled on the floor, he was holding his crotch as he whined a bit. Unfortunately, no one helped him get up. The pervert got what he deserved. No one was stupid enough to help him, with the possibility of earning Sylvana's wrath for no reason. Not even Lux, who was her childhood friend, he already knew her savage personality that might burst whenever she felt like. I'm sorry, Maximus, you dug your own grave, buddy. Lux apologized internally to Maximus, before following the crowd to stand in front of the Academy's personnel. He was a bit curious to see what was going to happen now. Silence. As soon as the middle-aged woman shouted this, everyone hurriedly shut their mouth from running anymore. They recognized her as Blair, the fiery witch that was in the top 200 of the ability users' rankings. Not as strong as Alexander, but still a force to be reckoned with. Not to mention that she was currently facing a group of rookies that were still wet behind the ears. Attention everyone, you'll all get a badge. Everything you have to do is to scan it to your Skylimit bracelet. When the woman finished saying that, another person stepped forward. This time, it was an old man that barely walked with the help of a cane. Seeing the old man, a lot of the students held their breaths. This was because the old man was Professor Academies, one, if not the best scientist in the entire world. He even participated in the creation of the Skylimit system. I'm glad to see so many youngsters still respecting their elders. I'm not going to take up too much of your time, and everything I'm going to say is just simple basic things. But these basic things are probably unknown to some of you, especially those with a less fortunate background. As you know, the Skylimit bracelet is connected to the Skylimit system, and powered with the use of power stones. But their use is not limited to that. The Skylimit bracelets are capable of various things. From detecting an opponent's ability power level, to a portable GPS equipped with a 3D hologram, to even making calls, logging into the Skylimit system, and also storing confidential data. Right after saying that, one of the students that was in the less fortunate category raised his hand to ask a question. Professor Academies. I have a silly question to ask, please answer me. The young man was a bit red in the face, probably because there were some mocking gazes directed his way. Professor Academies smiled before saying, sure, ask whatever you want. Also, there's no silly question in this world, It's truly only a multitude of variations with endless possibilities coupled with the human nature of being unable to fully understand or think on the right path. Oh, I'm sorry for that. I got a bit emotional, hee hee. The students were a bit speechless hearing that complicated answer to such a stupid question, but they couldn't say anything about it, since it was Professor Academies who said it. I was just curious, why do we have to store our personal data, and that of our abilities within the Skylimit bracelet? The moment he asked that, the young man was even more embarrassed. It seemed that everyone knew the answer to that question, and even those poor souls like him pretended to know, even if they didn't. That's actually a good question. Why do you think this was a silly one? Look, I'll demonstrate it to you. You there, your family has a good background, you should know it, so answer. A bit rude to the student, Professor Academies forced him to answer his question. Yes, sir. It's simple actually, because the world government and the other organizations want to keep an eye on us, sir. Feeling proud of his perfect answer and the fact that everyone was gazing at him with respect, the young man was stunned seeing Professor Academies shaking his head. Wrong. I was sure that your families didn't teach you anything good, and I was right. Every single batch is like this. Lux, answer this. Calling him by his name, Professor Academies smiled at Lux while saying this. It's for security measures. If an ability user ever decides to go rampage, the Skylimit bracelet will send this information to the Skylimit system. Also informing the corresponding forces of the culprit's ability, power level, even habits, and his precise location. Clap clap. As Lux said this, everyone was surprised to see Professor Academies clapping for him. Bravo. Perfect answer. Now you have it. Psst, brother, you're awesome. Nia spoke in a low voice as she praised Lux. The latter slowly shook his head. This was nothing. What? But Professor. My answer isn't wrong either. What does this country bumpkin even know about the Skylimit bracelet? The wealthy student who answered earlier before being publicly shamed by Academies was enraged. He couldn't believe that someone like that fancy guy dared to speak against him. What does he know about the Skylimit bracelet and system? Are you dumb or just pretending to be dumb? When the other students heard what Professor Academies just said, they made sure to double-check Lux. D-dumb? Professor, Shut up. You're a dumbass. Professor Academies cut the guy's speech short once again. His name is Lux Apostolos, one of the 13 people present when the Skylimit system was created. After dropping a bomb that stunned almost all the students present, Professor Academies took a deep breath. And you dare to slight him with such a stupid question? Go back from where you came from. You're not fit to be a student of the Alcaeus Academy. Another bomb was suddenly dropped by Academies. He directly expelled a student out of nowhere. Professor, shouldn't you think a bit more about? Even Blair tried to change his mind, but it was useless. No, you don't understand it. I'll explain myself to the principal later. You can ask him if you want to know my reason for doing this. Shaking his head, Professor Academies waved his hand in the air, and very quickly, 2 bulky ability users appeared behind him. Throw him out. These cold words sealed someone's fate at the highest prestigious academy in the world, Alcaeus. The students present made sure to remember a thing. Don't mess with Lux Apostolos. Did I just gain an enemy for nothing? Thank you, Professor. Lux didn't say anything the entire time, and it was because he simply didn't care. Revenge? Lux wasn't afraid of it, why would he be? Chapter 6, Unknown Secret. After the small incident took place, everything continued as per usual. Professor Academies also stepped back and didn't say anything else during the entire time. The students continued to pay attention to Blair as she recited the academy rules one by one. All right. Now, everyone would receive their badge to connect it to the Skylimit bracelet. This would also help you better calculate your ranking in the star ranking list. Hearing this, every student was excited, especially Nia. She could barely wait to see her ranking on the list. There existed 2 types of ranking lists in total. First one, reserved only for students, the star ranking list. The Skylimit bracelet calculated the density of everyone's ability power before transmitting it to its system. After being converted to a numerical value, depending if it was higher or lower than someone, the sky limit system would place that person on the star ranking list. The same worked for the all-star ranking list. This one was focused on a person's overall power, and it included every single human with an ability, not only students. Though, there may be some geniuses out there that were occupying a good place on the all-star ranking list. Every badge had a number on it. This confused the students present a bit, as they didn't know what that number represented. I see that everyone has their own badge now, good. Let me explain it to you. The number on the badge represents your achievements in the special class. As Blair said this, she took a break before continuing. Based on this number, we'll decide who remains in the special class, and who will be thrown out. A commotion suddenly ensued within the students' ranks. What do you mean by this, Instructor Blair? Yeah. Why should we be abandoned after entering the special class? Silence. It was Professor Academies who just shouted. And remembering him mercilessly kicking out a student, everyone shut their mouths and listened. There are 60 people in the special class. And because of our limited resources this year, everything we can do is to limit your numbers here. Just so you know, the special class alone eats up about 22.74% of the Academy's resources every year. As Blair said this, the students were shocked. It was only now that they understood how valuable a spot on the special class was, since even such a giant as the Alcaeus Academy had to suffer such losses. So at the end of the first year, we'll have to decide the 30 students who would lead the special class and be demoted to the S class. A lot of the students present were clenching their fists tight. They couldn't get demoted, no matter what. A stain on their reputation? Fuck that. The resources and care of the Academy were 100 times more important. Not to mention that their families would punish them, talking about those with a background. For those without one though, this would be worse than a death sentence. After everyone calmed down, they quickly connected their badge to their own sky limit bracelet by using the scan function. Emitting a special signal, the badge was equipped with a unique code needed for the sky limit bracelet to pick it up. This later translated to information about a person. Since the law that imposed everyone wearing a sky limit bracelet, every human had one on them at all times. Nia, what's your rank? Luz curiously asked. Star ranking number 6, all-star ranking, place 888. A bit of disappointment was heard in Nia's voice as she said this. Her expectations were a bit shattered because of her ranking being lower than she thought it would be. If that's what you're worried about, look around you. Lux tried to encourage Nia a bit by saying this. And it worked. When Nia took a look around the room, she was speechless to see about 40 students on the ground, some even had tears in their eyes. Most probably because of their low ranking. Even the ones who still stood were continuously frowning. What's with the long faces? You thought that every single one of you is a genius or something? Blair's mocking voice was shortly heard. She even seemed to giggle a bit while saying this. Our school has 4 students in the top 10 of the star ranking list, and the same number in the all-star list. Before those 4, the rest of you can't even touch the top 20 of the star ranking, not to mention being ranked higher. Instructor Blair, who are those 4? A lot of curious gazes were thrown at Blair after hearing that. Curiosity killed the cat. Mark Tenebris, Myra Blaze, Nia Apostolos, and Sylvana Crestfallen. The short answer stunned everyone. They all quickly took a glance at Nia and Sylvana, who were staying close to each other. Oh, Maximus didn't do it. Lux was a bit surprised by this. He expected Maximus to get in the top 10 of the star ranking list. Taking a quick look at his own sky limit bracelet, Lux's eyes glowed with a strange light. A string of information quickly appeared on Lux's sky limit bracelet. No one saw it though. Maximus Dunamis. Besides Maximus's personal information that Lux quickly skipped, a few other important things appeared. Ability, Rage of the Titan, gives immense power and stamina in exchange for speed. Affinity, Earth. All-star ranking list, place 1439. Star ranking list, place 21 foot. Seeing this, Lux sighed. He truly wished for his good friend to be included in both lists' important rankings. I'm curious though, who is that number 20? From what I checked last week, Maximus should have surely got that. Interesting. As one of the 13 people who assisted in creating the Skylimit system, Lux had his own ways of infiltrating other people's bracelets and seeing their personal information. Of course, he couldn't say this to anyone else, not even to his lovely sisters. Because he didn't want them to be in danger. As for his personal information, Lux made sure to hide that too. He didn't want someone to be aware of his abilities, ever. Chapter 7, Number 1. Everyone, please remember the numbers on your badge. They're going to be extremely important in the future. After Blair said this, the students curiously looked at the number shown on their own badge. Instructor Blair, what's the meaning of this number? A curious student couldn't help but ask. What number do you have? 49, but what's its use? I see. If you don't improve that number until the next semester, you're out. Hearing that, a lot of the students gasped in realization. If they weren't amongst the 30 lucky students to remain, they were probably going to regret it for the rest of their lives. Brother, what number do you have? Nia curiously asked Lux. Lux didn't say anything, he briefly showed Nia his badge. There, a 1 could be seen. What? Brother is number 1? But, how? The little girl was blown away by this realization. Brother. Shoo. Don't make a fuss about it. It's because my past achievements were taken into account by the Academy. As Lux said this, Sylvana beside him couldn't help but glance knowingly at him. As the principal's daughter, she was already aware of how the badge's numbers were calculated. So it was no surprise that Lux was number 1. His achievements were simply stellar, above everyone else. The Skylimit system helped humanity move forward as a whole. This should be something that everyone is aware of, but sadly, only the Sky team of the world government is applauded for their own success in creating the Skylimit bracelet and system. The others that aren't a part of them, Lux included, weren't even mentioned. That was why Professor Academies, a member of the Sky team's scientific development project, was so angry before. Because there were only 6 people recognized worldwide for their contributions, the others who declined or weren't even invited by the Sky team were simply thrown away and pressured into not talking about it. The world is unfair. I'll help you change it, Lux. Sylvana's eyes burned with passion as she thought of this. Remembering how sad Lux was when his contributions were thrown away by the Sky team before, Sylvana clenched her fists in anger. Pat. Suddenly, a hand patted her back. Turning around, Sylvana saw Maximus smiling warily at her. Don't say anything. We both know what we should do. Hearing her friend say this, Sylvana relaxed once again. She knew that there was no need to get angry over this, better use these emotions to fuel her drive even further. One day, Lux was aware of what his trusted friends wanted to do. But he didn't say anything. His hope in the way things worked out there was already shattered. He already promised himself not to help anyone, ever. The disappointment he felt that day, the fury and evil feelings he brought to surface. He didn't want to feel like this again. His only reason for entering the Academy itself was to keep an eye on his little sister. Fully knowing that even though it was one of the best academies in the world, he still didn't want to risk it. There were all kinds of people out there, some who could hurt someone just for the sake of it. And Lux, because of the position he was in right now, didn't want to endanger his little sister's life. These 4 years would quickly pass by. Then I can go and settle somewhere. I'm sure Nia would get strong enough by then, so strong that no one could hurt her in any way. Unconsciously smiling, Lux was surprised when everyone was looking at him. Narcissist. Why look so happy just because of a stupid badge? Brother, you disappointed me. Lux was speechless hearing his friends and little sister say this about him. I should control my feelings from showing in the future. Nodding to himself, Lux was prepared to leave the building and see where the dorm was. But before he could make a step forward, some words entered his ears. Look at him, he even nodded when calling him a narcissist. Indeed, that's just weird. Brother. A vein threatened to pop up on Lux's forehead. Without listening to them anymore, he swiftly left the room. Once again checking his badge when no one was around, a stream of new information appeared in front of his eyes. Lux Apostolos. Ability, none. Affinity, none. It's better this way. No one should know this. The world could be collapsing for all I care, thought Lux, as his eyes slightly glowed. His sense of justice was a bit altered after what happened to him. It was like everything connected, just like a butterfly effect. No ability, his girlfriend left him, her family and friends were constantly pressuring him, then Sky Team decided to hide his participation in the Skylimit system and bracelet. Everything hit Lux at once. If it wasn't for his big sister, Bella, protecting him as much as she could, then he would have probably been a corpse right now. Yes. That's what I'll do, why should I care about the others? Maximus and Sylvana are my good friends, but even their families. Damn. Lux felt even worse after thinking about that. He felt that he was useless. Even after it seemed that the world seemed to be moving again after those things happened, it was still there, and it hurt. After walking for 10 minutes or so, Lux finally arrived in front of a building that had a sign that read "Male Dorm" on it. Entering inside, there was no supervisor or personnel to ask anything. Instead, there was a single hologram on the door. The students had to check in by scanning their badge and Skylimit bracelet through the hologram. After having their identity checked, the door would automatically open by itself. Then information about the room would appear in every student's Skylimit bracelet. Room 1, 10th floor. Why couldn't they make it closer to the entrance? Sigh. A bit disappointed that he had to travel so much, Lux shook his head before going to his room. The privilege of being the number one in the special class could be seen by the fact that he lived alone. That's right, he didn't have a cliché roommate with a mysterious background and could instead move alone, freely. Chapter 8, Betrayal. Lux was a bit taken aback by his room. The name room didn't even make sense, as the golden walls and chandeliers hanging around were proof of the Academy's extravagant care offered to its students. 3 bathrooms? What the heck? I'll barely use one of them. So that's why the Academy said it's short on funds. No wonder. Even my house bought by Bella isn't as lavish as this one. Lux and Nia's big sister Bella was a powerful ability user. She was in the top 30 in the entire world. Such a feat was achieved by few people, so it was to be expected that every single one of them would be extremely rich. While Bella insisted on buying a castle for Lux, the latter refused. What should he do with a castle? Get lost inside? Damn, everything here is so wrong. Instead of using their money and funds like this, the Academy should have been more conservative and used normal dorm rooms. Really? An air purifier that works on power stones? Lux was speechless the more he walked through his dorm room, more like a villa. From the outside, he saw that the dorm building was extremely huge, but he didn't know why. Now, he knew the reason. It was all because so much space was needed for the top 10 students of the special class. Every single one of them got such an incorporated villa inside their room. I should absorb some power stones, then see what Nia is up to. Maybe she wants to go and visit some places around the Alceus Academy. Power stones. This was the only known way for someone to advance their ability power. And not only that, when power stones first appeared, no one knew their worth. But now, they replaced paper money. By going back to the past, Lux remembered his first encounter with power stones. He was a bit naive at the time, so instead of keeping it for himself, he gifted it to his girlfriend at the time. Myra Blaze, the woman who betrayed his trust. Lux and Myra were classmates, they became quite close to each other during high school. So from one thing to another, Lux confessed his feelings to Myra. At first, he thought that she was going to reject him because of his lack of ability. And knowing how strong her family was, this should have been the case. But contrary to all his expectations, Myra accepted his feelings. I like you too, Lux. These words were engraved into his heart at the time. Thinking that it was only the beginning of his love life. But young Lux couldn't have been aware that it was only the beginning of his despair. The friends he acquired over time all congratulated him for getting together with Myra. The young couple was extremely happy together. Dates, sweet moments, life couldn't have been greater than it already was. But then, it began. Pressure from Myra's family. As Lux was a young man with no background, and not even an ability, he was being ostracized by the Blaze family, one of the strongest among the 10 great families. How could their most precious gem fall into a crude kid's hands? They did everything in their power to stop the two from ever meeting, even going as far as putting pressure on Lux's family. With no parents alive, Bella was the one who took on that role. She barely received her ability at the time, so it would have been impossible to resist a giant colossus as the Blaze family. But despite this pressure, she still tried her best to make Lux follow his heart and not be swayed. Lux made a plan then. He decided to use his brains to become successful. His perfect memory, capable of memorizing everything after a single look, only boosted his confidence. Then, an opportunity arrived. The stone he gifted to Myra was apparently recognized by the Blaze family. They did some research on it and discovered something incredible. It could actually increase an ability's power. At least, this was what the test subjects said they felt at the time. Because of this, Lux was forced to tell them the location where he found the stone. Not only did the Blaze family applaud him at the time, they also recommended Lux to the Sky team. At that moment, Lux felt that everything was set in motion. He set himself on the right path, that's what he thought. After some trial and error, a correct way of using the power stones was finally found. It sounded a bit out of a novel, but for the power stone to have the best effect, one needed to swallow it. As simple as it sounded, there was one more problem. Where to find more power stones? It's been already a few years since the power stones were discovered, but there was no sign of them until that moment. So Lux also decided to investigate this matter. By going to the Sky Team's Scientific Development Projects team, Lux decided to run some tests himself. At first, even with all the knowledge from the books he memorized by heart, Lux wasn't able to find something new about the power stones. That was until a new power stone was acquired. If I can't get anything by testing one, why not try with two? And this was that he did. Lux managed to convince Professor Academies and 11 other scientists to begin a test on both stones at the same time. Because of the advanced technology of Earth, more advanced tests and techniques were now available. But a single one worked. Well, it didn't work, it just pointed them in the right direction. Under the magnifying glasses of the new molecular particle detector invented years ago, a strange thing was noticed. The two power stones emitted a certain frequency. This frequency surprisingly led in a direction. Another power stone. By using this as a starting point, Lux and the others quickly observed something different. The power stones were all interconnected, like in a web of some sorts. Chapter 9, Reminiscing. Seeing this, everyone was excited. There were endless possibilities about this thing, leading to something breathtaking. To a technological discovery that will shock the world. For a few weeks, a few sets of tests were done upon the two power stones, but without success. It seemed that this was all they had to offer. The opportunity to get more powerful and a strange connection between them. But Lux needed to prove himself, so he got even more involved. He suddenly made a connection between an event that happened around the time he found the first power stone. Portal break. That was how it was named. It was the first time that a portal exploded, not literally, but it had the same effect. Since portals appeared a few years ago during the ability crisis, this was the first time when one of them vanished, thus freeing all the monsters inside. Freeing them on Earth, that was. Lux's Magenta City was close to the location of the portal break, Greyville. When he arrived in the small village for a trip to the mountains, he accidentally found the small power stone. Taking it because he thought Myra would probably like its fully black appearance, Lux took it and gifted it to her. Then coincidentally, Lancelot Blaze saw the stone in Myra's room. He didn't have much of a reaction at first. Until he got close to the power stone, it was then that he felt it. A strange attraction to it. Because of this small coincidence, the Blaze family was the first one to grab the first power stone ever. Because of this, it resulted in Lux suffering. So thinking back to that time, young Lux made another trip to Greyville. He wanted to know if everything was in his mind or not. Much to his surprise, it really was there. The answers he was looking for. This is. Seeing a strange patch of something black on the ground, almost like a corpse was burned there, Lux got closer. Carefully studying the ground, he observed something stranger underneath. It was another power stone. It's really one of those strange stones. As the term Power Stone wasn't invented at that moment, Lux simply referred to it as a stone. After adding 1 plus 1, Lux was sure the stones were coming from the portal monsters' bodies. So after killing the monsters, such stones appear from their body? Making sure to check around, Lux determined that not every monster had such a stone inside his body. It almost seemed to be random. Almost, because it wasn't. But this was something to be discovered in the future. For now, little Lux just ran back to his girlfriend's family to tell them the good news. The Blaze family was overjoyed after hearing this, and continuously praised Lux for his discovery. But as nothing lasts forever, Lux's happiness was suddenly cut off when he said something he shouldn't have said. Why don't we make this public? This way, we can inform other powers and work together for a greater goal of helping humanity. After Lux said that, he saw some changes within the Blaze family's behavior towards him, but he didn't pay much attention to it. He just continued to study the strange black stones every day. And finally, the small team of 13 people made a huge discovery. By using the right frequency, an infinite number of stones could form a connection which enabled storing and sharing information. Exactly like the internet, just that it was impossible to be hacked, thus making it the safest option when trying to be careful with sharing sensitive data. After hundreds of tests and a few months later, they finally got some results. They learned how to transfer data from point A to point B by using the Power Stone's frequency. It was an arduous task, but it was totally deserved. Then, the young genius proposed, why don't we create a system capable of holding on to all this data, one that can be used worldwide by every single person? As soon as Lux said this, without him knowing, people started to plot in the dark. Lux and the small team of people finally developed a product for the first time. They called it the Sky Limit Bracelet. Once they got the basics down, the final product was a piece of cake. They only had to think of a way to connect the Sky Limit Bracelet to a single entity, thus enabling every citizen to use it for free. After almost a year of ups and downs, the 13 people succeeded in doing so. They managed to create the Sky Limit system. It was a huge success, one that, much to Lux's surprise, was announced for the public. But then it happened. Out of 13 lives working their ass off, only a few of them were named as the lead scientists of the project. What's the meaning of this? We all worked hard for it, and you decided to not include our names in? A middle-aged man shouted this as soon as Lux stepped inside the Sky Team's headquarters. That's Maxwell Fox, but what's his problem? Why is he shouting so loud? Thought Lux as he got closer to the checkpoint to identify himself. Stop. You're not allowed here. A security guard suddenly stopped Lux from taking another step. This stunned the young man. Sir, I'm a scientist working at the... I know who you are, kid. Don't make me repeat myself. Instead of helping Lux get a grasp over the situation, the security guard actually threatened him. Lux frowned, a bad feeling couldn't help but creep upon his spine. What do you mean by that then? Don't bother, Lux. They fired us, we're no longer part of the development team. Ha, human trash. Tui. Maxwell Fox, the man who Lux thought to be crazy, suddenly said. This stunned Lux for a while, leaving the young man unable to speak another word. Right then, a blonde woman followed by an old man dressed in a black suit appeared at the scene. Miss Renya, what's the meaning of this? She was Renya Tang, the daughter of the Sky Team's leader, Manuel Tang. She was followed by her butler, Cho. Chapter 10, Abilities. When Lux asked this, Renya sharply glanced at him. We considered your contribution to the project to be inadequate with our policy. Thus we are going to fire you. Hearing that, Lux froze on his spot. Contributions? Wasn't he the one who discovered the Power Stones in the first place? Wasn't he the one who found out how they could be used? He was also the one who proposed to create an intricate system capable of holding the stored data, while also being the first to think how to do it. It could be said that while the others also helped, he did almost 50% of the entire work. And now to hear that his contributions are insufficient. The young man was simply too stunned to speak. Security, throw these two people out. They don't have a place here anymore. Saying this, Reina turned around and left with her bodyguard, who didn't say a single word. As Lux was walking down the streets, he somehow got to the Blaze family's residence. Making sure to call Myra before entering, Lux just did that. But strange enough, his lover didn't answer his calls. Without a choice anymore, Lux straightened his back and tried to enter the residence by himself. Oh, if it isn't young Lux. Our Lady already informed us that you may be coming. Please come inside. The guards at the entrance who were familiar with Lux said once they saw him. Their relationship seemed to be quite good, and this was strange. Because they usually made sure to check his body like he was some sort of criminal before allowing him inside. This time though, it was different. And Lux got another bad feeling because of this. Without saying anything, Lux quickly made his way inside the giant front yard, looking at the troops passing by. No one paid him any attention, even though he was their young lady's boyfriend, which was normal, since Lux didn't have a strong background. So everyone knew of Myra's useless boyfriend, Lux. Something is really strange, the guards let me enter too easily. They also said that Myra was waiting for me, but she didn't answer my calls. The lump inside Lux's throat only got bigger and bigger. That feeling of being watched by someone constantly followed him as he arrived close to Myra's room. Then he slowed down. The reason? The giggles coming out of Myra's room were too loud for him not to hear. Oh, Mark, you're kidding around, right? You know I already have a boyfriend. Hearing that, Lux completely froze. He forgot everything around him, and only focused on listening. That useless piece of trash? I heard he was also kicked out of the Sky Team's new project. What's his use to you now? A man's monotonous voice was heard from inside. And if Lux wasn't mistaken, he was Mark Tenebris, someone inside Myra's close group of friends. Mark, you can't say that. You should know that Lux did his best this time. But you're probably right, he served his purpose to us. After all, his brilliant mind was everything we needed him for. Crack. Slowly but surely, Lux's heart began to shatter to pieces. He couldn't believe what he heard from the mouth of the girl that he was together with for 2 years. You should really forget about him, just focus on me. After that, some rustling of clothes was heard, and a loud thud, as if someone was thrown onto a hard object. And if Lux wasn't mistaken, that was probably Myra who was put on her desk by Mark. Unconsciously, tears poured down the young man's face. He quickly turned around and left, not caring about the tears pouring down his face, not caring about the mocking gazes of the Blaze families thrown his way. Lux disappeared. Back to the present. Lux was still looking at the power stone in his hand. He didn't hesitate too much before beginning to absorb it. Then, an extraordinary thing happened. The power stone was completely absorbed in less than a second, before transforming into particles of dust in Lux's hand. Truly, a despicable world. Lux sighed before taking out another power stone from his Skylimit bracelet. This was another function of the bracelet, besides transmitting and receiving information. Storing. It sounded quite simple, but it wasn't so actually. For this to be implemented, various tests on monsters that were capable of somewhat manipulating the space were needed. But Lux couldn't be bothered anymore about that, he just used the bracelet like a normal one. Because he wasn't really so easy to trick like the Blaze family and Sky Team thought him to be. Lux already left a way for him to be able to access the Skylimit system in the past. Now, he just pretended that he was a simple young man entering the Alceus Academy. In fact, if he wished for it, he could make all of the Skylimit bracelets and systems shut down with a single thought. And all of this was thanks to a bug left in the system way back. But this was only because of a single person, Professor Academies. Among the 6 chosen to represent Sky Team, he was the only one who did something after finding out that his colleagues were thrown out like trash by the Blaze family and other powers working together. He accessed the system together with Lux and managed to modify some parts in their favor. What was exactly modified, only Lux knew, but this was done 2 days after witnessing Myra's betrayal, 1 day after finally getting his abilities. Ability, Uncrowned King, have a certain grasp over reality. Ability power grows with the user. Affinity. Ability, Light God, use the light, be the light. Affinity, Light. When Lux received 2 abilities instead of 1, he was shocked. Even a few hours later, he couldn't believe it yet. Uncrowned King. Sounds so powerful. But what's its use exactly? Reality, that's far too abstract for me to comprehend, at least for now. Also, the affinity is unknown? It's the first time I heard of something like this. This second ability sounds even more strange: use the light, be the light. Why are these things coming without instructions? Even Lux thought that, he was still happy to finally have received his abilities. Chapter 11, Talk. Back to grinding power stones, Lux hasn't even realized that he absorbed more than a few hundred already. This is enough for now. I should go and look for Nia, before it's curfew time. Just like that, Lux exited his room and sent a message to his little sister to meet at the park. As the Alceus Academy was the most prestigious academy on Earth, they had everything one could wish for. From training facilities specifically created for ability users to canteen, cinema, spa, hospitals. Thus, living inside the Alceus Academy was the same as moving out in a big city. 15 minutes later, Lux finally met Nia. The distance between the boys' dorm and the girls' dorm was a few kilometers, as the academy itself was massive. Strangely enough, Nia wasn't alone, she was accompanied by Sylvana. Some big guts there, to rest while being the #1 student in the special class. Sylvana sounded a bit annoyed at Lux as she said this. Her tired eyes were proof that she practiced using her ability until now. I was pretty much tired. From Magenta City to Alceus City, there's about 1,500 kilometers, and we also had to charge our shuttle with 10 power stones. Lux's lie for staying so much in his room was that he was tired. He won't admit that he continuously absorbed hundreds of power stones to strengthen his ability. Humph. If that is so, then why isn't Nia tired? She accompanied me during my trainings. Lux just shook his head. This was a battle that he knew he couldn't win no matter what he did. Sylvana is also thinking about my state. She doesn't know that I have 2 abilities already, but still insisted that I should train. What can I say? It's nice to have such friends. As Lux smiled inwardly, another figure popped out of nowhere. Guys. Big news. There's a fight at the gate. We should quickly go and see that, finally some fun. It was Maximus who just appeared before disappearing, just as fast. His statement confused everyone, but they still decided to follow him. Especially Sylvana, she wondered who was foolish enough as to start a fight inside the academy. After all, the rules were pretty harsh here. Slowly walking towards the academy grounds, Lux and the girls finally saw Maximus with a group. They were intently watching 2 young men confronting each other. Don't think you can run anywhere, you pipsqueak. The tallest amongst the 2 spoke first. He seemed to be pretty angry because of something. I don't want to fight, especially not because of such a stupid reason as stealing a spot. The short one responded. It seemed that the beef between the 2 men began because of a spot in the academy. Both were in the S class, but the short man, Ralph, somehow sneaked in despite his low background. Thus, Paul's brother couldn't enter. This prompted the 2 brothers to plot, finally deciding on making Ralph renounce at his entry in the S class by offering him money. But since Ralph was here to become stronger and not for money, he declined their offer. Hearing such a refusal from a nobody, Paul got so angry with the man that he even dragged him close to the park to fight with him. It doesn't matter if you want it or not, you have 3 seconds to decide, or I'll attack. Hearing that, Ralph sighed. 3. As Paul began his countdown, Ralph locked his eyes with the latter. You know, it's true that I was the last place in the S class. 2. But this was only because of my lack of studying anything during the 5 years of military. 1. Paul dashed towards Ralph, his hand transformed into a bare paw, and his steps left some marks on the ground. After all, I was rated the strongest combatant in our class. As Lux watched this, he couldn't help but say, 1 second and it's over, huh? The others were confused after hearing Lux say that, before seeing him turning around and leaving. Lux, where are you going? Thud. Crack. Suddenly hearing a powerful sound behind them, Sylvana and the others turned around only to be stunned. This was because Ralph was perfectly standing, while Paul was down on the ground. His face was covered with blood as the mark left by a punch could be clearly seen by the spectators. Every student that watched this scene was stunned. They couldn't see what happened, only that Paul was suddenly knocked out by Ralph. That was amazing, muttered Maximus, before also turning around and leaving. Maximus, where are you going? As Sylvana asked this, Maximus only waved his hand. I'm going back to train some more. There are so many powerful people here, I don't want to fall behind. Without stopping for even a second, Maximus also left the premises. Without a choice left, Sylvana stepped between Ralph and Paul. The fight is over, don't worry, I heard and saw what happened. Ralph slowly nodded at Sylvana. He was glad that the principal's daughter personally stepped forward. What he heard about her morals and integrity before should be all true. So even though Ralph didn't show it on his face, he was pretty much happy about this. Thank you. Leaving a thank you behind, Ralph returned to his dorm. What a strange guy. He's also pretty strong, but he still needs to eat more power stones before his power could catch up with mine. Nia was also a bit impressed by Ralph's performance, but this was only because she didn't fully see it, as Lux leaving was more important for her. Lux. Only now did the girl remember that her brother already left. She quickly chased after him, totally forgetting about Sylvana. Where is he? As Nia continued to look for Lux, she didn't saw that he was behind a building, currently facing a red-haired girl. What is it, Myra? Lux's casual voice somehow made Myra shiver. She looked straight at him before saying, I want to talk with you about what happened in the past. Hearing that, Lux didn't back away his gaze as he said, I don't think there's much to say about it, to be honest. What happened already happened, we can't change it anymore. But listen, I know what I did, and I'm really sorry for that. It's just that. Finding herself at a loss for words, Myra stopped talking. She couldn't even imagine how Lux felt at that moment, or what kind of thoughts were going on through his head. But she knew a single thing, she wanted to come clean and make up with him. I want to. Before Myra could continue, Lux interrupted her, that's alright, after all, we're not enemies or something like that. We can still be friends. Take care. Saying so, Lux didn't stop for even a second, not even when he sensed that Myra started to cry. He just continued to walk without looking back, not even once. After a few minutes of walking though, Lux suddenly stopped. He looked down at his feet. More exactly, at his shadow that squirmed around a bit. What is it? When Lux said this, surprisingly enough, someone responded, there's a bit of a problem, they want to send someone to the Academy. Lux wasn't surprised in the least that his own shadow suddenly talked with him. I see, I don't have anything against it, tell them to proceed with caution. After a second, an imperceptible nod came from his shadow, before it went silent again. Seeing this, Lux didn't do anything, only his eyes seemed to glow for a bit as he thought of something. The balance of the world would be soon broken, but I must say, I don't really feel anything about it. As long as my family and friends are safe, why should I care about it? I'm not a saint after all. Chapter 12, Secret. For days passed very quickly, it was finally the weekend. Lux and Nia were also summoned back home by their big sister, Bella. Do you think something happened, Lux? Asked Nia as she gazed at her brother, who was silent for some time. This wasn't because Lux didn't want to open up the topic, but that he knew too much. His sources made him aware that they are prepared to act, and this thing seems to have alarmed the top factions of Earth. Their big sister, Bella, was probably aware of something happening. Most likely because she was a core member of Earth's Shield. I don't think it should be something too big, maybe Bella wanted to ask about our first week in the Academy. What? She would have called us then. Why ask us to come back? And she also seemed strange. As Nia said this, she waited for Lux to continue talking, but he just stood there in silence, not saying anything at all. Brother changed himself after that event took place, but now, he's somewhat different. He's too detached. Nia sighed inwardly. She knew that there was much that Lux didn't tell her about, but she was too afraid to ask. What if it wasn't something she didn't wish to hear? Or she couldn't manage? The flying shuttle was already close to Magenta City, which was their place of birth. Their little heaven. Well, little may be very misleading, as Magenta City alone had close to 5 million people. After Lux and Nia disembarked the flying shuttle, they made way for their house. In fact, they both had their own house, but usually hung out together at Bella's house. Their sister was mostly out of town because of her high rank in Earth's shield, so they not only cleaned her house, they also lived in it. It was like they didn't want to live alone. Loneliness wasn't fun, it was mostly a dull and thought-inducing state. One that could even prove to be dangerous if the limit is exceeded. After using their sky limit bracelet to check their identity, the pair of siblings entered through the front yard. House was really damaging Bella's castle-like manner, one that was even equipped with defense mechanisms capable of killing even a disaster-class monster. As Bella herself was a catastrophe-class ability user, it was just to be expected. The power level of monsters was classified from F-class to SSS class. Above that there was the Proto, Sky, Disaster, Catastrophe, and Apocalypse class. These power levels weren't determined since one received his ability, but it would surely affect his future path. If someone received the ability Gummy Feet, how would he or she be able to enter a portal and hunt monsters to get power stones and use them to become stronger? It was nothing but a pipe dream to say that the ability one received didn't matter. It was all that mattered. Without a good combat-oriented ability, people won't be able to get their hands on power stones, thus sealing their fate. Hard work? It was pure bullshit without a strong ability. Power stones were the only way for one to increase their power and break through classes. Nia's ability, Queen of the Night, was a good example. It wasn't only dangerous when assassinating someone, but she also received a buff during nighttime. One that increases Nia's overall power, basically making her a dangerous foe to have. It was said that speed was supreme. In Nia's case this statement was true. Those who worked with her during the 5 years compulsory military training regime could attest to it. Since the world changed, some things have also changed. The 5 years compulsory military training regime was introduced as soon as abilities appeared. It had the goal of shaping people and their abilities. Since one finished high school at 18, they needed to attend the military for 5 years. After that there were the 4 years of academy, for those who got into one. There were a lot of people who simply decided to remain with the military instead of wasting their time applying for an academy that wouldn't accept them anyway. Only those who knew would have a chance to perform well while studying inside of an academy would opt for it. But of course, not everyone wanted that. Some wanted to live a peaceful and uneventful life. Even if that held true, they had to sign a contract with the military in which they stated that if a situation was to arise, they would be immediately deployed, or lose most of their rights. Like attending an academy in the future, getting a job inside the military, or even the right to consume a power stone. It was extremely harsh, but no one could do anything about it. For those breaking the agreement, there was only the possibility of getting a normal job to survive. The other doors would slowly close and never open again. This was also a reason why Lux didn't want to get involved in world affairs anymore. But he still did, just that no one knew. It wasn't to help Earth's citizens, but for his own, selfish reasons. Lux, Nia. A beautiful woman that looked to be in her late 20s suddenly appeared from the front door of the castle-like manor. She was Bella, the siblings' older sister. Even though her name could be translated as beautiful, she was simply breathtaking. No wonder she was considered as one of the most beautiful women in the world. Standing at over 180 centimeters, Bella was also pretty tall. Her long, golden hair, and that black one-piece dress only accentuated her curves and big chest even more. It was like a man's fantasies came to life, but it was real. It was discovered that one's ability could affect their looks, and also personality in some cases. And for Bella, this really happened. Bella Apostolos. Ability, Dreamy Illusion allows the user to affect or modify any being's perception of the world, be it fake or real. Affinity, Illusion. She was basically a walking dream, a dangerous one. Her 27th place on the ability users list wasn't only for show, it was there for everyone to remember that a beauty like her could prove to be too lethal for random people. I'm glad you two managed to arrive so quickly. Come inside. Bella's joyful attitude remained a mystery. Considering her ability, she should have been more mysterious, but she was actually very easygoing. Big sister Bella! Shouted Nia as she threw herself into her big sister's embrace. The little girl liked to be spoiled a lot. Seeing this, Lux couldn't help but smile. I wish my days would continue like this. Chapter 13, Demons. After Lux and his sisters got back in the house, they sat at a table. The atmosphere became a little bit tense as even Bella's expression hardened a bit. I'm not going to beat around the bush, there's a reason why I've called you here. I have some bad news, and some good news. Which one do you want to hear first, the good one or the bad one? As Bella asked this, both Lux and Nia looked each other in the eyes. Lux was the first one to raise his hand. Do this news affect us personally, or is there something more to it? Bella's expression became a bit complicated hearing her brother ask this, for now. Let's just say that it could get bad, very bad. Nia was a bit afraid hearing Bella's tone, she never saw her big sister acting like this. Tell us the good news first. Nia directly said, she wanted to have some happy time before hearing the bad, unsettling news. Okay then. Listen very carefully. What I'm going to say now can't leave this house. At least until it would be officially broadcasted to the entire world. Don't worry. I won't tell a single soul. Nia and Lux quickly agreed, they were curious about what Bella had to say. Glancing at her younger sibling for a while, Bella sighed with emotion before continuing, you probably heard about the first trial, right? During the ability crisis. Lux and Nia's ears perked up, though. Lux had a feeling that he knew what this was all about already. During the first trial of Earth, not only did portals appear and we lost a lot of inexperienced people, some with strong combat abilities, others with powerful support ones, but our planet also began to come to life. This, as you may already know, prompted other beings to come back to life, demons. As Bella said this, Nia gasped, she connected the dots and arrived at a terrifying conclusion. Did the demons find a way back? Bella heavily nodded in response. Yes. They managed to crawl out of their hole, this time, stronger than ever, as even someone in top 70 ability users died at their hands. What? How's that possible? Nia exclaimed in terror. It wasn't that she couldn't believe it, but that it sounded too surreal for her. From what she knew, during the first trial, as the people of Earth named it, demons were apparently living underground, close to Earth's core. They were locked away by something that broke once abilities came to be. At first, it was hypothesized that demons didn't feel anything out of common, but it was after one of them managed to break their race's bad luck spell that they found out they're now freed from their prison. Once that happened, the first trial began. It was called Nightmare of Doom. This was because the havoc they created during that time was not only destroying infrastructures and the like, but also taking human lives, tens of millions more exactly. At that time, there wasn't a light god to protect them, and the people of Earth had to resort to more direct means, nukes. No matter how much technology advanced during the passing of time, nuclear bombs were still the strongest. Well, humans also stopped developing more powerful weapons of mass destruction after believing that they were alone under the sky, but the situation changed with a snap of a finger. No one could have expected for the sudden blessing of abilities to arrive, or for demons to emerge from the underground. But it happened. Successfully killing the first batch of demons before they could kill or destroy more things, the humans started to get a bit cocky. They even sent teams of people on the same path they came from. Unfortunately, it wasn't the best decision to make. What they discovered underground shocked them and brought a chill down their spine. Millions of demons, every single one of them was seemingly born for battle. Like bloodthirsty creatures, the demons killed almost every man and woman that was sent to explore the underground. It was only after one demon stepped forward that things calmed down a bit. That demon was different from any other demon seen until that point. Hello, human. My name is Prince Bellicus. I came here to speak with your representative and discuss in peace. Not only were the humans shocked to hear a talking demon, they even panicked and delayed the matter for a while. This brought about the displeasure of the so-called demon prince. I'll give you one day to send someone and discuss the terms of our agreement otherwise. Saying so, Demon Prince Bellicus released an ominous black aura which instantly took the life of anything in a radius of 50 kilometers. Be it humans or animals, even demons. They were all worthless in front of the Demon Prince's eyes. As the 10 families, Earth's Shield, and the Academies alliance weren't yet formed, only the military and world government could make a call in that situation. They hurriedly formed a team of 10 people to try and see what the demons wanted. After a few hours of strenuous negotiations, humanity found out a few things about demons. 1. They were stuck underground for tens of thousands of years. 2. By using some special means once in a while, they could check on the planet's current affairs. 3. They knew about the ability crisis more than the humans themselves. And 4th, they wanted a place to stay, one that was above ground, a continent. This was everything the 10 negotiators could find out in a few hours. The small team promised Prince Bellicus that they would be back with a decision. But it was a lie. Humanity's higher-ups weren't even considering the possibility of demons living above the ground. So they did the thing they would regret a few years later. They threw tens of nuclear bombs inside the tunnels that connected demons to the land above. Not only sinking the ground above them, but also killing Prince Bellicus in the process. Chapter 14, Demons 2. But Bella, didn't the Light King manage to single-handedly repel the demons a few years later? Nia curiously asked. She already knew that history, so what was the point of repeating it again? Bella shook her head. No. What you've heard until that point was wrong. It was a fabricated lie of the higher-ups. Hearing this, Nia was confused. She didn't understand how this could be a lie. Actually, the demons didn't mean or do us no harm. They came in peace to talk things through. Lux sighed inwardly. He knew the whole story already, and it didn't do anything else other than piss him off and made him doubt humanity even further. Listen, Nia. The millions of lives lost, and the destruction caused. They were all caused by other humans, not demons. Dropping a bombshell out of nowhere, Bella couldn't watch Nia's pale face any further, and she gazed at the floor like it was the most interesting thing in the world. So you're saying we've been lied to, all this time? Somehow, Nia's mechanical voice was heard. Disappointment wasn't enough to describe her current mood. I'm afraid, yes. Our own people killed other humans mercilessly only to make the demons appear like they were our biggest enemies. The rest is like you know. After Prince Bellicus's death, the demons receded back underground. Like they've never been here. And a few years later, around 6 years after the ability crisis, and when the Oceanic Kingdom made its appearance, they were back. Their desire to kill was higher than ever. But I guess it was to be expected. After all, we blew up every chance we had to make ourselves a strong ally. Instead we made them into enemies. As Bella finished talking, she couldn't help but glance at Lux, who was quiet during the whole time. Lux, how do you feel after knowing this? Perhaps waiting for this question, Lux pretended to shrug it off by blaming someone else. Professor Academies told me this back, so it's not the first time I heard about it. Both sisters were stunned hearing that. Bella was the first to recover. She seemed to have comprehended something after hearing Lux speaking. So you know the dark side? No, the history of Earth. Only bits and pieces of it. Lux casually responded, as if the matter didn't have anything to do with him. Bella somehow understood Lux, as she could imagine why he thought so, especially after what happened to him in the past. Old wounds could be easily closed, but did this necessarily mean that they were also healed? I see. Then you should be aware of the second part of what I was going to say. To this, Lux nodded. After the betrayal of those they once trusted, how could the demons stay in their place? Even their own prince was killed. So they took it upon themselves and allied with the Oceanic Kingdom in a fit of fury, prepared to bring ruin to humanity. But it was at that exact moment that he appeared, Light King. 1 versus millions, and he won. Maybe it wasn't an easy victory. He also didn't manage to kill every demon and oceanic monster or those half-humans, but he surely protected Earth. What I wanted to say is, the demons are back. Bella suddenly said. Nia snapped out of her earlier days and began to carefully listen. And this time, I'm afraid it won't be as simple as some small fries. Our hidden cameras powered by power stones are capable of perfectly recording everything inside the tunnels, even if the radiation there reaches shocking levels. But that's why everyone is so worked up now, because of what we saw. There were several hundred half-human half-demons there, and some were even perfectly copying human looks, even their clothes. Clothes? How's that possible? Nia couldn't help but ask as she was confused. That's the problem. It means that the demons somehow got their hands on them, and this should be possible only if they managed to reach human lands. As Bella said this, Nia opened her eyes wide. She knew what her big sister was going to say next. Demons began infiltrating our powers for a while. Boom. It was like a thunderclap that resounded into Nia's mind. The girl couldn't believe what she just heard. It was so novel, almost unreal. To think that the demons they seemingly drove off so easily in the past could be hiding among their own kind. And what now? What did the other powers say? For now, we won't do anything, we're waiting for the screening process of the academies to finish. After that, we're going to select the best individuals from the other academies and factions to train them intensively. Throwing power stones would be an understatement. This would most likely empty every power's treasure vault. Hearing that, Lux only sneered. Those trash willingly emptying their pockets? They either have another reason for doing so, or that's not everything they have. There's surely a catch somewhere. Luckily, Bella and Nia didn't hear Lux's sneer, or they may have been worried about him. But Bella, what does that have to do with us, again? Asking this, Lux kind of knew what she was going to say. Results. That's all I'm asking for. Try to give your all and topple the rankings. If you do that, you can be selected and receive every resource you may ever need. Giving them a sweet smile, Bella patted both Lux and Nia's head. Don't worry, sister. I'll do my best. Nia smiled back in response. She wanted her sister to be proud of her, so she smiled and quickly agreed. Even if she was still sad and disappointed in humanity as a whole, she also didn't want her sister to be sad about that. I won't do it. Lux's short and cold response also came. It shocked both sisters as they didn't believe Lux refused such a pie that fell from the sky. But bro. You're the #1 student in the special class, why would you refuse something like that? Nia was apparently more pissed off than Bella, as it could be seen from her angry voice. Nia, I won't do it. There's no need to try and force me, as my answer would still be the same as before. As Lux said this, he left the living room. He left behind two confused sisters that didn't know what to make of his words. Lux. Were you really that hurt in the past? Bella sighed with emotion as she finally felt how deeply Lux's wounds were. Chapter 15, Visit. Lux didn't leave because he was upset. The control he had over his emotions was absolute. The true reason was because he just received an encrypted message on his Skylimit bracelet. The demons are prepared to negotiate with us, but they said to forget about the other factions of humanity. Especially the 10 families. When Lux read that, he sighed softly. Who would be stupid enough to try and make peace after being accused of taking numerous human lives and having their own people killed? But if we show ourselves too early, it may bring some problems to my plan later on. As Lux was lost in his thoughts, another message was received on his Skylimit bracelet. He glanced at it for a second before not paying it any attention. I should go there now. I feel that I've already avoided that place for a while. Lux snapped his fingers and some particles of light started gathering in front of him, creating something resembling a mirror. What was amazing though, the powerful momentum of the light mirror didn't seem to attract neither Bella nor Nia's attention. It was like its aura was invisible and couldn't be felt by other people. With a small step, Lux was already inside the mirror and disappeared from his spot. Antarctica. The white scenery before Lux's eyes was a piece of art in itself. This prompted the young man to stop in his tracks and take a double look at the beautiful cold land that laid ahead of his eyes. It's so peaceful here, like nothing could profane this place. Sigh. I could probably retire here without a worry in the world, thought Lux, as a smile adorned his handsome face. Even though he wasn't aware that he smiled, because it was done unconsciously by his mind that finally relaxed a bit, Lux couldn't help but take a few breaths of the cold air surrounding him. After a few minutes of looking, Lux started to move. He was seemingly going to a normal-looking cave ahead of him. Entering the cave, one would be shocked to see hundreds of blue power stones adorning the cave that couldn't really be called a cave anymore. This was because the interior of the cave was extremely different from what one would have expected for such a secluded place like Antarctica. It was pure luxury. The walls and ceiling were made of some sort of blue gem that seemed expensive, and there were different types of art portrayed on the walls. Whoever was living here must be a powerful figure of the human race. Or not. Who goes there? A cold voice resounded from deep inside the cave. Don't worry, it's just me. I came to visit you. As Lux said that, he felt a piercing gaze landing on his body. If he was a normal human, he would have probably been frozen in his spot, or even directly die. What do you want, Lux? The owner of the voice didn't show herself yet. It looked like she didn't want to see Lux. I told you already, I'm only here to see what you've been up to. How are your wounds? There wasn't even a bit of concern in Lux's voice, even though he asked this. They're still healing. What did you expect? To heal my wings instantly after you ripped them off? The owner of the cave seemed to be a little annoyed at Lux's question. Turns out it was Lux who ripped her wings apart. How could she not be pissed off at him? You should be glad that I didn't kill you. And not only that, I even gave you the opportunity to recover. Yet you're still acting so cold towards me. Silence. Lux also didn't say anything else, he just waited there patiently. I'm sorry. The owner of the voice suddenly said. Hearing this, Lux was speechless. I only asked about the wounds, and stated the truth. Why is there a need to apologize? Shaking his head, Lux continued to walk forward. After taking a few corners, he arrived in front of a beautiful blue door. Knock knock. Knocking twice, he heard no response from inside. This prompted him to turn around and walk back. After a while, the voice suddenly said, You can enter inside. With no hesitation, Lux opened the door and entered the room. Despite the cave's overall look, one would be disappointed to find out that the single room inside was so plain. A little furniture, a table with a chair, and a king-sized bed in the middle. There wasn't even a window so that one could admire the scenery outside. On the bed currently sat a person, a woman more exactly. But the woman was so beautiful that it would be hard to describe her using something as simple as words. Kion, said Lux as he greeted the woman. Lux, said the woman in a cold tone. It wasn't because she wanted to act so cold, but that was how she grew up. It would be extremely hard for her to change now. Your wounds look the same, are you sure that you don't want me to help you? We could skip all the dash. Lux couldn't finish his words as he saw Kion shaking her head. You've already done enough for me. I can heal on my own. Besides, there's no way for me to return home, so what's the point of rushing so much? I'll only spend my days locked here anyway. For a reason he didn't know, Lux clenched his fists, hearing Kion's words. He wished to tell her that it was all right, that she could roam around freely. But he couldn't. She was a beautiful lady indeed, but her bloodline was that of a dragon. He couldn't risk her causing trouble or going rampage mode on Earth. We'll see about that in the future. If you behave, we could discuss the possibility of freeing you. Don't even bother with that. I already told you. As she continued to speak, for the first time, Kion's expression wasn't her usual cold one, but a sorrowful one. My mission is to secure a land for my kind. This would mean clearing a certain area, and unfortunately for you and your people, that's at least the size of a continent. Lux just stood there and looked at the beautiful woman in silence, then he turned around and left. I'll come back at another time, make sure you eat some food, not that you need or like it anyway, but it's common courtesy to respect the host's wishes. About your kind. I already told you to not worry about them, I guess I should prove it when they arrive here. Kion just looked at Lux's back as he left the room. Even when he wasn't there anymore, she continued to look in his direction for a while. He's different from everything and everyone I've ever met in my entire life. I'm feeling strange. Kion frowned a little. She didn't know what was wrong with her head that suddenly gave her a headache, and with her heart that started beating faster than normal. Maybe I should rest a bit? There's no reason to continue thinking about my mission in my current state. Remembering something, Kion reached for her back and slowly lowered her dress, leaving herself only with her bra on. 2 terrifying wounds were present on her back. That should be where Lux ripped her wings from 3 months ago. Heal. Muttering this word while still being absent-mindedly, Kion put her head on the pillow. She kept her eyes open, even though she tried to sleep. Another golden door opened inside of Lux's room in Bella's villa. He came back, without anyone feeling a thing. Chapter 16, Mission. A few days quickly passed. Lux and Nia were once again back at the Alcaeus Academy. The sibling duo didn't mention anything about what Bella told them to other people. It was supposed to be a secret until the Academy informed the other students about it. Even Sylvana and Maximus didn't say anything, though they seemed to be aware of it since they were members of the 10 families. This is so tough, that is. Why did I even enroll in the Academy? I'm so stupid. Lux started to regret his choice of enrolling back then. He thought it would be easier to personally keep an eye on Nia, but now. Nothing much happened, everything was extremely safe inside the Academy, not to mention that there were a lot of strong powerhouses inside. Right then, his sky-limit bracelet flickered for a second. Taking a look, Lux saw that it was a message from the Academy's personnel. Dear students of the special class, a portal has been specially found out for you. There is going to be a list with the different tasks that need to be completed once inside the portal. Please make sure you will give your best. For instructors and professors would come with you in this adventure. But please don't relax yet, even if you die, they won't intervene. Their only goal is to assess your worth. If your own decision leads to your downfall, then you weren't meant to be in this class at all. The ranks would be altered depending on your performance. The right to refuse going inside the portal would also affect your position, in a negative way, of course. As Lux read that text, he wasn't shocked at all that the Academy decided to let the inexperienced students fend off for themselves, even going as far as watching them get killed. Here comes the cruelty of humanity once again. Those from strong families or with a good backing would surely be safer, as they have different equipment and protective items than the poor people without a backing. Still, I guess the Alcaeus Academy is better than other academies, in the sense that they gave the students the choice to refuse entering the portal. I know some academies out there who even force their own students to enter inside a portal, and if it was only that, I wouldn't be so disappointed. But it's only for the sake of cleaning out the roots, hand-picked students without talent that didn't manage to leave a name for themselves in their own academy, then forced to enter a dangerous portal with the intention to kill them, thus freeing up some new spots for other students. Disgusting. But I'm also used to it by now. Lux wasn't only disappointed in the Academy's way of doing things, but even by the fact that they cover up their deeds and make it seem like an accident. Why not drop the students and instead kill them? If an academy decides to drop so many students at once, who would enter it again? Fully knowing that it may happen to them? For sure, no one would do that. As this information was extremely crucial for some other shady businesses in the dark, every other power did their best to hide it. The only somewhat civilized power that Lux knew was Earth's Shield. The faction that his big sister, Bella, was a part of. They at least had the guts to have a motto that said, if you join us, prepare to give your life for your planet at any moment. This was both chilling and heartwarming. It was also the reason why so many people choose to join Earth's Shield, and not the other factions of Earth. Barely finishing his train of thoughts, Lux's sky-limit bracelet flickered once again. It was a call from his sister, Nia. After touching the screen lightly, Nia's face appeared. Brother! Have you read what the Academy just sent to our sky-limit bracelets? As Nia asked this, she seemed to be a bit afraid of her brother's reaction. Seeing Nia's worried expression, Lux smiled inwardly. It's a good thing that I joined the Academy after all. Hiding the giggle he was about to make, Lux said, don't worry about me. I already decided that I'm going inside the portal. Besides, my science path is different from your combat specialization. We'll surely have different objectives compared to you. So if I was in your place, I'd worry about myself, not about others. As Lux said this, Nia cutely pouted, I know. It was just that I was worried about you, stupid brother. In a fit of embarrassment and a little rage, Nia hung up the call. This made Lux chuckle for a while. I'm glad that she's getting so worked up over small things. Well, in her eyes it looks like suicide to send me there. Whatever, she'll calm down soon, maybe. Exiting his room, Lux was surprised to see the shadow of a young man entering room number 2. Mark Tenebris. Thinking so, Lux continued his steps. He couldn't be bothered to think about other people right now. His current goal was a simple one, find some toys for Nia. As it was mentioned before, Alcaeus Academy was like a city, one could find anything they wished for inside. This was reality, not just words without meaning. Lux's goal was to get some items for Nia's safety inside the portal. While he was pretty sure that she was going to be fine anyway, as he was also there. Some precaution and preparations done beforehand wouldn't kill anyone. I need to find her a new soft armor, preferably one that is made of leaked wile. That material is pretty useful for any situation. Leaked wile, it was created 2 years ago by Sky Team's scientists who found a way to melt power stones without losing the effects it had. After playing around with the liquefied version of the power stone, they discovered a wondrous use for it. The creation of weapons and armors. An armor made with leaked wile was not only extremely resistant and durable, but also very sharp and light if made into a weapon. Lux planned to buy exactly this type of toys for Nia. He was going to fully equip her with the only thing that still kept the world spinning, money. While it was true that Bella usually sponsored them, Lux also had his own way of producing some cash, and he probably had a bigger stack than Bella, obtained in various ways from doing various things. Oh, there it is, thought Lux as he approached a nearby shop. The words Wepo and Armo could be clearly seen hanging above. This was one of the most trusted shops that sold weapons and armors in the world. But it was also the most expensive one around. This was because it only sold items for power stones. But this was alright for Lux, after all, he was loaded. Chapter 17, Portal Exploration. When Lux entered the weapon and armor shop, he observed that there weren't any other customers inside. There was only a man of small stature who seemed to be napping in a corner of the shop. "Excuse me. Is it still open?" Lux asked as he noticed that the man didn't wake up to do any business with him, even after he made some noise when entering. The man, seemingly still sleeping, suddenly raised his hand and pressed his sky limit bracelet. A voice sounded from it, "Ronald. Ronald. Ronald." Lux was speechless about this, especially because after that voice from the sky limit bracelet sounded, some rustles could be heard from a back room, from where a blond young man came out. "Why yes, Mast, yes, sir." The young man had a leaf on his forehead, it was unknown from where it was, but he was probably also sleeping. This could be seen from his eyes, that could barely stay open. "Hello, are you an employee of the shop? I'm not sure what's happening right now, but are you still open?" Lux wasn't really concerned about the small things that happened, he just wanted to buy his sister a good weapon and armor. A customer. Ronald's eyes suddenly locked onto Lux, he looked at him as one would at a beautiful girl. Strange dude. I should probably hurry up and leave after buying everything necessary. Leaving a mental note, Lux patiently waited for an answer. Of course, it's open. Didn't you see the sign? After hearing the young man's answer, Lux almost laughed out loud. It was very rare for something so strange and random to make him want to laugh, but it happened. I see. I'm interested in a good weapon and armor made of liquid wile, are they still available? Haha. Then you came to the right place. We have a variety of weapons and armors made of the magnificent liquid wile. Please give me more details of what you would like. Finishing his words, Ronald attentively listened to Lux's requests. He made sure to get every last detail of what Nia would need or like about her equipment. The entire conversation lasted about 5 minutes. This was because Lux didn't stop at only a weapon and armor, he also ordered a few other items that may come in handy. Going back to the back room from where he came, Ronald was now holding a variety of different things in his hand. This made Lux look strangely at the young man, but the latter ignored his gaze completely. Why isn't he keeping the weapons inside his sky limit bracelet? I thought this was the norm. They're surely a weird bunch. Without explaining himself, Ronald just said, abyssal dagger, night rendering armor, black poisonous knife, covering powder, tracking oyster, eyesight improving solution. Ronald listed another 20 more items with weird names before finishing. The total price is about 12,082,930 power stones, but I'll make a discount for buying so much, and you'll only have to pay us 12 million power stones. As Lux heard the price, he didn't frown or show signs of happiness, his poker face was still present. But a single question couldn't be answered inside his mind. Why do the weapons and armor feel so strange? Lux thought so because when Ronald wasn't paying any attention, his eyes glowed with a golden light as he scanned the items. But something blocked him in the middle. I accept your offer. Do you want the power stones here, or should I send them to your main branch? It would be wonderful if you can have them on you. I'm sorry, I didn't ask for your name. Lux Apostolos. Nice to meet you, Ronald. After getting to know each other, Lux proceeded to pour out power stone after power stone from his Skylimit bracelet. Luckily, the space inside a Skylimit bracelet was usually about 100 cubic meters, so there was a lot of unused space. And what's more, you can set your Skylimit bracelet to get out the amount of power stones or items you want just by typing the number. It was an incredible feat, one that even Lux was amazed when he first saw it. The reason why Lux asked before if he should give Ronald the power stones or not was that many of these deals were made under the watch of the Skylimit system. So it didn't really matter if one gave the power stones now, or sent them to the main branch of the shop, etc. Once someone tried to do something funny, the Skylimit system would deem that person as a grade 3 offender. Thus, a lot of trouble would follow from the organs responsible for maintaining peace and order. There were 5 grades of offenders. The small ones would directly get a fine on their Skylimit bracelet for damaging public property or hurling too many curses at someone, even grade 1 offenders who were being searched for by the entire world for things like killing an important politician. But anyway, it was impossible for something like that to happen to Lux. After all, he tweaked his Skylimit bracelet a bit, so not too much information about him could be sent to the Skylimit system. And even if it did, he wouldn't care that much. After the transaction was completed, Lux transferred the items to his own Skylimit bracelet and wished Ronald a good day. Unbeknownst to him, after he left the shop, the man who pretended to sleep the entire time raised his head. "My lord, did you see that?" Surprisingly, the man who seemed to be the owner of the shop addressed Ronald as Lord. Of course. Something even tells me that he's aware of our identity, but he didn't say anything about it. Not to mention there wasn't an ounce of fear on his face. Ronald was lost in his thoughts. Meanwhile, the man seemed to be hesitating to say something. "You can speak your thoughts out loud. Then I won't hold back. Why did my lord give that human the soulless equipment?" The man could hardly swallow this thing. The lord's father personally gifted him with the abyssal daggers and night-rendering armor for protection. But now, his lord basically gave them for free. Investing in our future. And I think my biggest bet is that guy, Lux Apostolos. Saying so, Ronald backed away to his backroom, which wasn't really a backroom. Inside, there was a miniature forest, but the creepiest thing about it was the total darkness. A normal person couldn't see more than a meter in front. In fact, even an ability user would struggle to see the surrounding 10 meters ahead. Chapter 18, Portal Exploration 2. Lux quickly called Nia and asked her to meet him in front of the cafeteria building. A few minutes later, Nia could be seen walking towards Lux. "Hi Lux. What happened that you suddenly called me like that?" "We just spoke this morning." Nia was really curious about Lux's motives for calling her. He wasn't usually like this. "I have some good news for you, come with me to my room." As Lux said so, Nia followed her brother to his room. A couple of minutes later, the pair of siblings arrived at the men's dorm building. Quickly entering his room, Lux was happy that Nia didn't ask him about the fact that she could enter the building so easily. Her Skylimit bracelet wasn't checked. Usually, women couldn't enter the men's dorm, and for a good reason. "Do you want some tea or soda?" Lux suddenly asked. "Oh, yes. Some tea will do." Nia quickly nodded. She seemed excited to drink some tea, as it was her favorite drink. Lux proceeded to look for the teacups, when he suddenly realized he didn't know where they were. "Nia. What is it?" "I don't know where the teacups are." "Nia. Do you want some water?" "Sure." After the awkward moment finally passed, Lux prepared to give Nia the items he just bought. "Open your Skylimit bracelet." Hearing her brother say this, Nia didn't hesitate to do as he said. With a few taps, Lux managed to take out the items stored in his Skylimit bracelet for Nia. "Take these and try them out before the portal exploration begins. I'm sure they'll help you greatly." Nia was taken aback to see so many items on the floor, especially the dagger and armor that seemed to be calling out to her. "Brother, what's this?" "It's just a small gift." I had some unused power stones, and Professor Academies also gave me some. Lux smiled as he said this. He couldn't really say that he was probably the richest man in the world, speaking about power stones. This small amount wasn't even a fraction of his entire wealth. But, they look so expensive. How are we going to pay him back? There's no need to pay him back. He gave me 1 million and promised to give the rest of his debt later. These were only a few 100,000 power stones, so don't worry too much about it. As Lux said this, he patted Nia's head before hurrying her to take the items from the floor and try them in the special class training facility. After Nia left, Lux entered his bedroom and stood on the bed. A few moments later, he took out a bunch of power stones and started absorbing them. Just like the last time, tens of power stones were fully drained of their energy. This process repeated itself for a few hours, until Lux opened his eyes. This is too slow, normal power stones can't help me right now. I think Kion mentioned something about pure power stones, but where can I find them? Or maybe they're not on Earth, but outside. A few days passed quickly, without many things happening. It wasn't that Lux wanted something to happen, but it was really boring. Maybe I can see something interesting inside this portal, thought Lux as he was the first one that arrived at the meeting point of the special class. Well, he wasn't the first one, as the professors and instructors were the first ones to be there. Worthy of being the #1 student amongst the special class, you are the first one to get here. Instructor Blair smiled as she said this to Lux. The others quickly gazed at him before continuing what they were doing. Only the professors, with Academies in the lead, approached Lux and asked different questions. Some of them even treated Lux as being above them. Professor Academies, can we get some insight about the specific missions we have to complete inside the portal? As Lux asked this, he saw Professor Academies shaking his head. I'm afraid not. The specific missions would only be released after being inside the portal. This is to prevent others from making preparations beforehand and get ahead of the other students participating. Nodding his head, Lux patiently waited for the students to arrive here, so they could already go and explore that portal. The next ones to arrive were Nia with Sylvana and a joyous Maximus who was holding hands with a beautiful young woman. Hey, Lux! Look at this, Emily also came. Hee, she couldn't resist my charm and decided against skipping a few months of academy life, said Maximus with a foolish grin on his face, before getting slapped. The one who slapped him was Emily. She sneered a bit before saying, what charm? If the Academy didn't announce that they were going to downgrade those who aren't in the top 30 in our class, you think I would have bothered to come here only to see you? Not only Lux, but even the others chuckled a bit at the couple's funny quarrel. Lux only saw Emily twice before, and both times she was talking with Maximus on a video call. So it could be said that they were neither familiar or unfamiliar with each other. This guy just had to say something so cringe every single time he opens his mouth. Pathetic, said Sylvana, before also sneering. Yes, very pathetic. Nia also followed in and nodded aggressively. Thank you for sharing my thoughts. Emily sweetly smiled at them, a different contrast to how she was when with Maximus. Both Lux and Maximus were speechless seeing the girls acting so in tune and being so close to each other, despite it being the first time they met. That's why women are scary, said Maximus, using his eyes to signal Lux. The latter seemed to understand as he subtly nodded back. Are you thinking something bad about me? Emily came closer to Maximus. She wore a beautiful smile on her face, but for some reason, that smile only managed to make Maximus more afraid of her. And no, I wasn't. You can ask anyone who knows me. I, Maximus Dunamis, aren't such a person. The professors and instructors all had a smile on their faces, one that quickly disappeared when thinking of something. After this small episode passed, the hall where they gathered was shortly filled with the other students. All 60 of them were present, among which there were some familiar faces. Myra Blaze, Mark Tenebris, Amanda Lapillis, Valentino Russell. The latter was constantly stealing some glances at his big sister, who was hugging Maximus's arm intimately. Alright, now that everyone has gathered here, let's begin. Chapter 19, Strange Portal. After the instructors in charge of the portal barked some orders, they took the students toward their ride. The new X-Runner model, custom-made by the Alceus Academy itself. By using its top speed, it could arrive anywhere in the world in a matter of minutes. This was the result of something being powered by power stones. Very quickly, every student embarked on the futuristic designed plane that was neither too small, nor too large. "The scientific branch, please follow me," said Professor Academies before walking in a certain direction with the other professors in tow. "The combat students, please follow me." The same man who stopped Lux and Nia on the first day of Academy at the gates, Alexander Leone, spoke to the rest. He was the instructor in charge, and also the strongest man who would follow them inside the portal. "Brother, if there's something wrong, please request help or abandon the test and run. There's no need to endanger your life for something as meaningless as this." Before leaving with Instructor Leone and the others, Nia made sure to warn Lux. To this, the latter only nodded at her. "You too, make sure you do the same. Hee, with the equipment you gave me, there shouldn't be any problems at all." Sticking her tongue out, Nia quickly hopped away. Lux shook his head seeing this, and followed after the other students and professors. After a few minutes of walking, they arrived at a spacious hall, one that had different aircraft ready to take flight. "Now that everyone is here, let me tell you the requirements to pass this test," Professor Academies said before making a pause. "First, your main mission is to find any kind of new material or herb that may be useful. The second mission is to try and get your hands on different monster meat and blood. As you may know, we are currently researching pills that can increase an individual's power based on this. As for the third mission, every single piece of intelligence found about the monsters living inside would be rewarded. Your findings would be converted to points after the test is over, and you can use those points to exchange them for everything inside the Academy, as long as you have enough. If some of you want to give up now, that's your only chance to do so." As Professor Academies finished his speech, he waited to see if there was any student who raised their hand to leave, but surprisingly, no one said anything. Good. Another thing, the first 100 kilometers from the entrance of the portal were cleared by Alexander and other instructors. This also means that the combat students would only truly begin after the 100-kilometer mark. So there's no chance you can help or receive help from them. But even if there's no monster in the surrounding area after the cleanup, this doesn't mean that no one sneaked in once again, so please be careful. The landing will commence in 1 minute. A mechanical voice was heard, announcing the landing. Everyone was a bit nervous, with the exception of Lux. He was the calmest of the lot. Meanwhile, on Nia's side, a few people already gave up the test when they heard that it will take place over 100 kilometers deep inside the portal. This made many of them rethink their choice of participating in the test, where they could potentially lose their life at any moment or simply give up and keep their life intact. 9 students raised their hands to announce that they were giving up, leaving their 20 colleagues to fend for themselves in an unknown portal. "Those who gave up, please wait on the ship with the other Academy's personnel. The rest of you, follow me." As Alexander said this, the ship just landed, and curiously enough, there was no sound of impact to announce it. Following Alexander from the other side of the ship, the combat students looked on the other side to see Professor Academies leading the other half of the special class, from where none of the students retreated. "Instructor Alexander, weren't we 60 students? If 9 retreated and we're only 20, then?" a student suddenly asked, and now that he said this, the other's interest was quickly piqued. "Your other classmate is already inside, she's just waiting at the entrance, per her wishes." As they heard that, many of them gulped. They couldn't understand why someone would choose to stay alone inside the portal of their own volition. After a few hundred meters, they finally saw it, the orange-hued portal that was tens of meters tall. I guess everyone already knows, but I'll say it again. After finishing your tasks, make sure to leave the portal at once. It's a given that only those who enter inside the portal from an entrance could exit it the same way, so no monster would be able to follow you outside. Saying so, Alexander made the first step inside the portal, the other instructors soon followed after, and then the combat students. Professor Academies and the others patiently waited for 10 minutes, this was so that the 2 separate teams of the special class wouldn't meet each other. That's enough time, let's go inside. Not giving anyone enough time to react, Professor Academies was already inside the portal. Without much of a choice, everyone followed him inside. Lux was surprised to see some dead monsters forming a small group, all of them dead, seemingly killed by a single person. As Professor Academies looked at the monsters that didn't have any breath left in them, he thought of something. That girl should have found something to do to keep away her boredom. Not thinking about it anymore, he directly ordered. Starting from now on, you have exactly 24 hours to meet the requirements for the test, go. My job here is done, so I'm going with the other professors, to try our luck deep inside the portal. With a bang, Professor Academies and the other professors leaped from their spots and soon disappeared from the confused students' faces. They really left us to fend for ourselves. There was soon a small commotion that followed the professor's leave, but it soon died down, as many students left to complete their mission. Lux was the only one who stood behind. He didn't seem to care too much about what happened. Interesting, the one who slayed the monsters is surely only a student judging from the wounds she left behind on their bodies. But not only that, she also thought of leaving the corpses behind for our mission. Sigh. If these guys had a brain, they would have first checked the bodies and took a sample of their blood and meat. Whatever. Unknowingly to everyone, Lux was already in the lead. Chapter 20, Strange Portal 2. A few minutes before the scientific branch entered the portal. Gasps and exclamations could be heard among the combat students who were petrified by what they saw after entering the portal. What is that? Instructor Alexander. A few scared students backed away, afraid for their lives after seeing over 20 monsters dead as soon as they took their first step. What was even scarier was the black-haired woman, who appeared to be in her 20s. She currently had her back turned to them, even after noticing their presence. Xia, come with us. The test will officially begin after we pass the 100-kilometer mark. As Alexander Leone, the strongest among them, spoke, he casually strolled forward. The other instructors nodded at the girl before following Alexander. Wait. Xia? Where have I heard that name? A discussion started among the students, and even some from prestigious families joined in. Xia, it's been a while. How is your brother doing? Surprisingly, it was Myra Blaze who started a conversation with the unknown girl named Xia. The two seemed to know each other. Hearing that question, the girl named Xia slowly turned back to look at Myra, before saying, killing. It was a simple word, but for some reason, it sent chills down everyone's spines. Myra seemed to be speechless as she heard that. The awkward atmosphere didn't last long, because Xia quickly departed from the corpses, leaving behind gasps of amazement from the students who saw her speed. Agile like a monkey, Xia stepped on a tree branch, before completely disappearing. Let's go. The one who spoke this time was Mark Tenebris. He was the number 2 student of the special class. Different from Lux, he was the strongest combat student. Those like Valentino and Amelia, who were part of his group, decided to go after Mark without any complaints about his order. Then, there was Sylvana's group, composed of Nia, Maximus, and Emily, who also started to move forward. Seeing this, the other students didn't want to be left behind, so they also stopped what they were doing and followed the few groups ahead of them. Before they could take a few steps, someone suddenly exclaimed, Xia. She's the Shadow Monarch's sister. When the other students heard that, they all froze in their tracks. Back to the current timeline, Lux was casually collecting blood, pieces of monster skin, and meat in different vials. Because the monsters killed by Xia were of different races, as seen from their body shapes and skin colors, Lux actually gathered more than enough to pass the test with full marks. Now, materials and herbs for the first mission, and signs of life for the third one. Lux smiled, thinking of something. He had an idea of accomplishing the third mission quite easily. It was true that the Skylimit bracelet couldn't contact others while inside a portal. This was probably due to certain laws preventing it. But this didn't mean that other functions didn't work, like taking pictures, for example. And from what Lux knew about Academy tests, this method was also taken into consideration. Of course, he wasn't the only student who thought of this, but as long as it worked, everything was fine. Before departing from the portal's entrance, Lux's eyes turned a golden color. different from his usual emerald green eyes. He looked straight ahead and, while others couldn't see it, he perfectly saw Nia and Sylvana's group as they advanced. They passed the 50-kilometer mark. In 15 minutes, they should arrive at the true start of their mission. Speaking of which, I wonder what their mission is. As Lux wasn't aware of their requirements for completing their tasks, he was a bit curious about it. But for now, he was going to try to finish his own first, before seeing if he can help his sister and the others with something. A golden aura enveloped Lux slightly before he vanished. About 300 kilometers from the entrance, a golden silhouette could be seen. After revealing his face, it was Lux. He seemed to have moved instantly from one place to another in a matter of seconds. Oh, is it over there? Lux's eyes spotted something a few kilometers from his current position. In less than a second, he was already there. It was a pretty large hole, guarded by two large monsters. One resembled an elephant, and the other was a house-sized jaguar that seemed extremely nimble. It was the perfect combination of strength and speed that could pose trouble to even the most powerful ability users. Judging from their auras, Lux concluded that they were somewhere around disaster class. This wasn't something he couldn't handle. In fact, Lux was much stronger than that. But for the sake of keeping up appearances, he decided to quietly bypass the monsters ahead. He didn't want to cause too much of a fuss when taking photos of what he was about to find. So he enveloped his aura and appearance almost to the point that someone standing in front of him wouldn't know someone was there. This was a small trick Lux learned about manipulating light. It wasn't the best, but it was still extremely useful in such situations. Slowly descending into the hole, Lux wasn't surprised by the pungent smell of blood. It was clear that the monsters outside weren't only making sure that no one trespassed, they also had their own needs. Look what we found. Lux thought this as he focused on the mural in front of him. It depicted tens of beasts, all bowing down to a single creature, a dragon of enormous proportions with a halo above its head. Seemingly captivated by the image, Lux wasn't even aware that a weak, almost invisible aura was released from the depiction. It even seemed that the giant dragon moved its eyelid for 0.01 seconds. But as Lux wasn't paying attention only to the dragon but the entire picture, he didn't see it. After a few seconds, the aura receded, and Lux shook his head before using his Skylimit bracelet to take a few pictures. Walking down the hole, Lux discovered another 8 such drawings. Every single one of them had the same dragon, but with different types of beasts bowing down to it and another halo, bringing it up to 9 halos in total. I wonder what this means. Despite being curious, Lux stopped himself from advancing any further. This was because if his theory was right, the end of this hole was another exit from the portal. One that should go to another world, one that Kion told him about, her own world, the Divine Dragon World. One of the 7 great worlds. Not thinking about this anymore, Lux quickly exited the hole and made his way back to the entrance of the portal. He didn't want to be suspected of something, so he needed to fabricate some proof. For starters, he would need to dig a big hole.